Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Infinite Way, where spirituality meets humanity. And we have part two of Apab'yan 2 visiting us, who is a spiritual guide of the Kichi Maya lineage of the highlands of Guatemala since 1998. In addition to being an expert reader of the Mayan calendar, a daykeeper, bone healer, herbalist, he is a man that has been trained as a midwife in the highlands. Having the trust and privilege to support women in successfully going through all the processes of welcoming a baby, from guiding and healing for successful inception, conception, throughout support, care, and necessary ceremonial, herbal healing, and communication through singing to the baby during the gestation and finally receiving the baby in the Mayan ways. During the decades of practice reading the Mayan calendar and work as a midwife of the highlands, he developed an extended scheme of understanding the conscious of the baby through the pregnancy time. An introduction of that has been shared in his first book, The Birth of the Universe, The Mayan Science of Pregnancy. I would like to introduce to you Apab'yan 2. Welcome, Apab'yan. There's so much I wanted to talk to you about, so I'm excited and happy to follow up with you. And I want to kick us off in Mayan cosmology or Maya cosmology. And, you know, for those who don't know you and are getting to know you, I met you, you are a shaman, and you come from a lineage of generations of shaman, and your family and what you learn and how you learn came from generation to generation to generation. Will you share a little bit about you in that regard?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the second episode. Welcome you, and only for this fantastic opportunity to talk. Yes, I can talk about me. As a spiritual guide, I belong to what during generations, and well, during generations has been a protected, enclosed way of not only preserving knowledge, but also getting that knowledge into evolving and to continuity, which I found very, very, very fascinating because since the beginning, is not that they are going to tell you the ancient secrets, which are, yes, also, since the beginning, my spiritual guide teacher is going to tell you about the contextualization. And a spiritual guide will always be like, for example, like uh, the life you cross with is not the life your kids are going to live. And you are always told that the knowledge has malleability, has to flow with things. As for example, just to give an example, now I provide consultations for kids who has syndromes related with the absence of the cellular phone, for example. Okay. But let's go back. The knowledge is given by, yes, by the elders. Usually is one close to the family household, as in my case, my grandfather, from the masculine side of my blood, my lineage, and he from his grandfather, and the other from the grandfather. If it's a case of woman, it goes the same, either the grandfather or the grandmother. And in the Mayan ways, knowledge is divided by actions, by gender. There are different specializations, but it's not like something you shall not cross. A woman can do man's job, and a man, as in my case, can do woman's jobs or work. The knowledge is protected, is given by experience. That it means we receive no classes. It's just like whenever something is beginning to come, you are told what to do, or you accompany your teacher, or you accompany your grandfather, and you begin to be familiarized since you're a kid or a teenager or whenever the interest arrives or the signals arrive, and you begin to gain your own experience. Little by little, you are told more and more and more. And by the way, something that is very peculiar is the dreaming knowledge. Dreaming knowledge is always fostered. A kid, no matter how old a baby can be, is always asked, what did you dream? What can you tell me? And you can see kids saying, oh, I was dreaming that I was in the tree, blah, blah, blah. But sometimes the baby could see, I saw you sleeping close to a river, and the river was very dirty. Ah, that's a sign. Uh, uh, it's not all in the Mayan ways. You will be building and developing the knowledge in your life. It can be in the moment of retelling a dream, or the continuity going to the crops, or in, if you are a weaver, also in the woman's case. But as I say, there are also now men weavers. You can begin to receive knowledge. Sometimes you receive like, three is the number for the triads, but three is the number of the Nahual tree, or the calendarical repercussion of how to consider the numerical repercussion of three, for example.
Right.
And you begin to receive, or if you go into agricultural ways, sometimes it's like, can you see the shape of the cloud? Oh, that cloud is sign, is saying there's going to be no rain. Or the spiders, you cross in the middle of a path in the middle of the mountain, and suddenly you are surrounded by spider webs, and the grandfather can say, oh, that it means that there's going to be a scarcity of rain. Why? How? Because the spider is building bigger spider webs in the scarcity of mosquitoes later on. And you're like, whoa.
Okay.
Because later on you're going to discover there are no spider webs, and you're saying, okay, there's enough humidity. They don't even need to go with the big nests. Little by little, you begin to receive the experience. But whenever you are talented, sometimes you are sent it to different people.
So
Sometimes you discover in your own. Oh,
so you're talking two different methodologies, or correct me if I'm wrong, because what I'm sensing is that you're sharing the fact that you have oral traditions that are passed down, which is the wisdom that comes step by step. As you get older, you learn little bit more, a little bit more. But you're also talking about the fact that you're tapping into that unconscious state that has that direct connection with spirit that informs the individual as to exactly what's taking place and what's unfolding. And we talk about the fact that we have dreams, we talk about the fact that, we interpret our dreams, but are they dreams? We're multidimensional beings. And, we can exist in multiple places because we are truly energy, So how do you perceive that? Or, is that something that we kind of just gloss over?
no, well, it depends. It depends on the individual. Also, the day in which you are born in the Maya calendar, due to the fact, or as we saw in the episode number 1, you're already shaped in a sense. Also, you cannot shape negative experiences, but already you can be talented for something regarding your own day in which you are born. You can be more directed. For example, if my mother was in the harmonics of music, I can be, and believe me, I could develop a better sense of harmonics in mathematics and in music too. And well, this is not a commercial, right? But I won the kids national contest of mathematics several times in 79, 80, and 81. And everybody was like, how this boy can do that? Well, mom was playing the cello. She established the harmonics already as a vibrational way on myself and my perception. That's not a problem. It's even obvious, or at least for us, very obvious. But beyond this, yes, you're true about that. And I have a very funny experience when I was asking actual knowledge, an actual way of proceed with a certain case that I got with my teacher. And my teacher says, why don't you ask the dream to tell you what to do? And I was like, I was like, why don't you tell me? You know how to. Just tell me, why did you put me in this position? And obviously she was, like, remember what I said in the episode number 1. There's a moment in which you are also still a member of a certain culture or a certain influences in life. I
Mhm.
went into college and university. Obviously, I was also bombarded by the other ways of looking at life.
Looking at life.
And
Yes.
yeah, and obviously the social pressures gives you and points you out to different, sometimes comfortable, sometimes uncomfortable positions because you believe in something, but they are telling you it's not. For example, as it happens with dreams, sometimes they are
Mhm.
just discarded. It's mechanics of the brain, of the mind, or the conscious being, or the neocortex function in the evolved brain, blah, 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 blah. But in the Mayan ways, they always told you is the way to enter into the spiritual world, is the world of the spirits, is the highway to enter with no toll payment to the realm of the unorganized consciousness, for example. And by the way, the Keros has a very peculiar concept that is domesticated consciousness. In Maya, we also contemplate that, but also cannibal consciousness. Let me tell you, I'm not going to avoid that in this moment, but there are moments in which you are. I said to my teacher, why don't you tell me? You know what I have to do. You have the experience. And she says, yes, but if it's not your, I cannot sell you or even giving you my experience. You are going to learn only by your own crossing, your own experiences. Then go on your own.
Right.
And she also added, the wind is going to give you the answer. And I was like, oh my, okay. I'm not that deep. Anyways, I'm not that a difficult person, but still, it was shocking. Like to be to like, okay, the wind is going to give me an answer. 30 years later, I can say yes, it is true. The
It
the
is
the
true.
wind can whisper. The wind can tell you what to do, where to proceed, or even not to proceed. But also in
That's right.
dreams, you can. The dreams is one of my areas also. The art of dreaming is one of my most developed, let's say, techniques to access knowledge, to talk to the spirits, to talk to my beloved mom that I don't see physically anymore, but I can sense her continuously. Dreams in the Mayan ways start as a knowledge when you are a very young kid. Even when you begin to speak, you are already asked, what did you dream? And if the baby was, for example, crying a lot during the night, in the morning, he's like interview, what happened? Then in Mayan ways, is not only about the actual sensitive, let's say, physical or material data that you can also get by books, and now by videos, now by podcasts.
Yeah.
Also, you are always fostered, told to open the senses and not what we call necessarily the senses. But for example, you're walking in the mountains and sometimes you are tired. Why not? And I remember a case of going to the for to collect specific herbs that grow in specific moments in the mountains. And I remember sitting behind the tree and my teacher sitting in behind another, and I had a very, very horrible dream. And she wake me up and she said, what were you dreaming? And I said, and I remember saying something like, the tree is so comfortable with me, I don't know why. And she was like, well, mm, I think that you broke uh, uh, what I can see is that you are precisely in one route that you broke. And okay, and it was true, by the way, because I put all the weight of the things that we were carrying. I just put it from my back and I said, oh, with no respect and no nothing.
No,
Yes, I called
nothing.
my
Yeah.
dream that I disturbed the tree, and that was true. And I felt that the tree was like this big monster with this big stuff, and that he was pushing me out. And I said, yes, 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 the trees. Um, I asked pardon, I light some candles, I offer some, and by the way, once again, as in the Quero history, another tree. Then dreams are always fostered, and it is told that whenever is your experience, and we don't know, nobody can tell you about their experience.
No.
Sometimes your father told, oh, no, touch that, do not do that. Nah, until you touch it, you are going to learn. Same ways, but in the Mayan ways, you are sent to dreams. Sleep and ask for
So
your answer.
yes. So in the Mayan way,
And
oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
yeah,
So in the Mayan
continue,
way,
please.
do you participate in your dreams? Do you actively take a role in your dreams also? Because that's one of the things that I do in my dreams. I am able to actively participate in my dreams. Sometimes I go in as the observer. Sometimes I'm feeling the participation that I'm actually going through as I dream. So there are many different roles I know that we can take and that we can perceive, and we can go in as completely the observer and just watch things unfold within our dreams, or that we can actually participate and be a part of that dream, and we're actively, so when they're running, you wake up in the morning and you feel like you just worked out because you were running so hard in your dream. You wake up and you're like, oh, you know.
I understand. Well, let me tell you, this is a brief introduction into Maya dreaming days. The calendar is considered to be not an instrument that the humans developed as a creation of a system. No, the calendar is
Yes.
told to be, yes, an instrument. It is still an instrument to track the pulses of the earth and the sky, or the sky-earth relationship. That it means the celestial, the tellurical, or the open, the above, whatever. The interaction between the sky and earth is calculating the pulses of that interaction. And as for example, high humidity, low fertility, or high fertility, or whatever you can say, is not spooky things. It's the actual ways of, for example, a day that has a lot of solar irradiation, but later on rain, and how that affects the earth. I'm talking about that relationship, pulses of
Okay.
the earth, along with the stars, because you can track the stars to calibrate your observations. In that sense, we see the Maya calendar as a living artifact for calculating, and I'm going to say different ways, the spirit, the nature, the consciousness of every day, because every day entangles a different formula in all the components that make a day. A sunny
Right.
day has an spirit. A cold day has another spirit. And by the way, we respond to that. Obviously, in the hot day, we are with lesser clothes, we are more happy, maybe we play the music. In the coldest days, we are enclosed with big jackets, and that already implies that we change behavior according to the nature of the day. As simple as that, for us, is very important. But guess what? By the pulses calculating the days, we know that every day has a different function, a different spirit, a different way of a consciousness. Then, in the Mayan ways, you are told, since you are a kid, that every day in dreaming time will also entangle differences. It's not the same. Every night is different. Every night, what you are going to absorb, what your sensitive being is feeling of your surroundings, is absorbing differently anyways. And there are two divisions in that sense. What you carry as the experience of the day, let's say it was a bad day, I was crashed in the car, or I lose this money, or the opposite. You are very happy, ultra energetic. You met this person, you made this business, you got this, whatever. And the other division is when the body is, you just switch off and you prepare for to rest, or maybe for the next day. Why not? Or you are, let's say, not carrying the day, but you are more pointing out to what is going to be the next day. Maybe the next day you are going to be introduced to a person, you are going to get these papers you always fought, you are going to receive your diploma, whatever. It means a way of a consciousness. Are you still on the previous day, whatever that happens? Are you more prompt to go on to the next day? What is the nature of the day and the formula of those pulses of the earth? For us, that is something that is calculated by the calendar. We follow the calendar, and in that sense, we understand that the dreams are not going to be the same. They entangle differences, but we know that. We prepare for that. Then we developed a series of different impacts on the dreams we hold or that we can remember. As for say something, repositional dreams. Those are dreams in which whatever that you experience is putting you back into your position. As
Right.
for example, when you are really making a mistake and you are dreaming that a person is telling you, you are too pretentious. Maybe it's a direct. Maybe it's a direct, literally coming from the realm of the dreams, a direct think about
Yeah.
that. Or for example, you have been very ill because of something that you justify, and in the dreams you can see the box of pills that you are taking and that are an incorrect prescription for you. That is, for example, those are repositional. There are like there are different ways of calculating, of understanding dreams, classification of dreams. There's the how can I say, incognita, questioning ones. There are dreams in which you are exposed, like naked to your own stuff. You have to understand there
Yeah.
are really fantasy dreams. Depending, depending on the dream, you can hold back, you can intervene, or even you can start dialogues and do interventions during dreams, traveling dreams. It depends on you. It depends on the pulse of the day that we call the day of the Maya calendar in which you're dreaming. And also, what I'm saying is very important because, for example, it's very important to stop the day. That it means whatever that happens on you during the day, it's better to stop it. Yes, it was happy. Well, or yes, it was painful. Well, try to stop it. Try to go to the bed. Try to go to enter into this. There was a friend that called it the Disneyland of fantasy, of dreams, because you can have a trip, a journey, you can have a beautiful adventure, and you can learn a lot about you and the others in dreaming. Then
Yes.
it's better to stop the day. But once again, it depends on the kind, for us, it depends on the day you dream, the quality or the classification, the distinction of the dream, and also who were you in the moment? Were you expecting something the next day? Were you carrying the previous day? Have you been carrying stuff during months? As for example, when you are sad about your work, or you are paying a debt and you're working extra or something, and you are carrying more preoccupation, you arrive to bed with something that is unresolved. And then the dream can change. But what about you are just a lazy man playing the drums in the beach with a beer? Well, maybe you're not that preoccupied to pay that mortgage, but
Yes.
still you are up to something else, right? Then
Yes.
that's an answer that can cover things.
Wow. Wow. So the role that dreams play is just so active, and the way that the Mayan calendar is tied into each one of those aspects of how you interpret that dreaming piece is huge. Um, how does the stars play into the whole aspect with the calendar and the dream, because I would think that the star positioning would have an impact, and the energy that's taking place also. Is that looked at within the Mayan calendar? Because how that stars aligned and the sacred geometries of how you're participating in that energy, in the frequency that you're giving at the time, or the frequency that can be attained at the time, I would think that that would all play a role in this.
Well, first of all, we have to establish something that is shared, but mostly science and different traditions, that energy is a vibrational condition, and differentiating in vibrational conditions can be determined by calling them consciousness, different consciousness, a way of a consciousness, evolving, or maybe not degrading, but not built way of a consciousness, absorbing, perception, a dialogue, connection, but still everything has a way of an irradiation, a vibrational condition. When we distinguish that vibrational condition, we can call something like, well, first of all, yes, the stars, yes. Is the sun, the moon, the stars? Omuchka Holab, there is a cluster of stars that we use for to track the shifting of the earth regarding the sun, or the sun regarding the earth. You can call it the way you want. The Pleiades, which is Omuchka Holab in Mayan. Venus is extremely important because Venus will always be giving you the way of understanding agricultural pathways.
Right.
Some bright stars and the conjunctions of some bright stars that also give us moments for to calculate not only the agricultural, but the impact on us, because sometimes we do really forget we belong to nature. We are not the owners of nature. We are nature. And our biopulses is following the rhythms of the earth, whether we like it or not. No matter how sophisticated you are out of anything, anyways, you're following that. And that can be also be seen in the way we eat. And we can classify, let's say, for easy purposes, some nourishment as hot, as cold, how to heal. Then some elements that you will see in the skies will help you to understand qualities in that vibrational conditions. For example, and I'm going to reveal a secret in this podcast. There's another Maya calendar that is called Chol'ik. Chol'ik is the calendar of the moon, and that is used only by women, or one of the most ways of interesting ways of application is in the feminine world, because the four basic major pulses to understand the Cholik are based precisely on the four phases of the moon, like waxing, waning, full, or new moon. And also, if you made a connection with your own blood hormonal ways that we call the retal ik, let's say menstruation and the blood, the rebuilding of the blood after menstruation, for example, you can begin to make mathematical connections with the Cholik to enter into the realm of the pulses of Cholik. As for example, when the light is ascending and we are arriving to a new moon, no, to a full moon, the liquids and most of the lymphatic liquids in the, or let's say, well, I'm going to leave it like this, in the lymphatic system are more active. Then those days are good for to begin practices of healing. Same way, if let's say, to say something in the opposite side, if I found that a person has been intoxicated by whatever, drugs, alcohol, bad nourishment, incorrect prescription, I don't know, You can also
Right.
track
I
the
know.
moon for to understand what in the irradiation of the moon can helps you to drain those problems out from the body
Okay.
in a magical way or by herbs. Then there's the calendar of Venus that also will give you another extra clues every 20 days to calculate the biorhythms of the person. Once again, differentiated ways of vibrational conditions are going to give you a pulse because everything that irradiates has a frequency. When you distinguish the pulse and the frequency, you can proceed with going up, going down, or as I said, as the moon rules over the tides and the tides go up or go down, your own liquids are affected by either the moon, either Venus. Your blood is stronger in women specifically if the new moon is if the full moon is close also to the moment of menstruation. You can track, you can also connect yourself with the cholik in the woman's waist. And by the way, the cholik is also used for tracking the development of the baby and consciousness. Then, although we look at actual phenomena, as for example, I came down from the mountains, also rendered by spider webs all over my clothes, but I also am looking at the sky and I see the conjunction of Venus and the moon is ascending in this and another way. I know there's an provide. For example, I could be saying, okay, now Venus is in the central part of the ecliptic in a day in which I already can see Venus during daylight, it is possible, or I can see the moon, full moon in a bright light. I can make the connections and I can determine if this is the moment to proceed with a healing or to do a therapy or to heal a bone or,
Right.
you know, cardiac problems. Wow. The cholic and cardiac problems. Wow. It's like putting you into a system of calibrated ways in which your inner self can once again be back to the pulses of the earth and you can proceed. It's
Yes. Yes,
amazing. That's
yes, yes,
amazing.
yes, yes. It is amazing. And then the fact that, I mean, so the beauty of what you've shared with us is that you shared how you can have that connection with nature and the trees, the water, earth, air, fire, water. You can have that connection with the baby, the infant, before it even becomes the child outside of its mother, external to its mother's stomach. You talked about that consciousness in dreams. I mean, we don't understand how powerful our beings are and able to connect and have that connection in so many different ways and so many different things that all around us, and just being able to see that beauty and have that frequency to see the beauty that's all around us and how you choose to look at the world and how you choose to encounter the world. I just think that that's so powerful, and we say that really quickly in passing, but in a sense I wanted to just highlight that because it's really important. It's really, really important. And everything that you're describing is not external to us, it's within us. It's,
Yeah.
you know, so
That's
it just,
why,
no, go ahead, please.
no, that's why I, in the first chapter or in the first episode, I make a huge remark on what was our experience in Cusco. Because I remember that we were going back to from Cochamojo to this beautiful colonial town that we descended to. And once again, I remember that when I began to look again at the trees and the leaves and everything, it was so powerful. I do even remember that one of our companions fall into the mountains and she was having the ankle very injured and she was suffering in every movement
Yes.
of the rock. But I remember that I also saw the first bird and I was like, oh my gosh. And the bird was singing. And I was like, wow, we take everything for granted. But when you
We,
are, let's say, in in bed 3 weeks, and if you're not bitter, right? And if you are isolated, if you live a terrific experience and you return, then it's like, oh, wow, how magnificent is every moment, how magnificent is every second. When I was holding the baby that day that I was crying, I was like, what is life? This is life. This is consciousness. This is the universe in the eyes of a baby. But sometimes, and it's true, we are overwhelmed by information. We are
We
overwhelmed
are.
by
Yeah.
experiences. My teacher, I remember, for example, when I asked my teacher about this specific dream that I have, and she said, "Do you know that every human being can perceive everything at the same moment and blah blah and be able, but we fear what we see. We fear, and specifically if you are very stiff into your personality, if you are not open, if you are more square, if you do believe in your last name as your pedigree from generations, you are wrong. You are flowing with the universe." And she says the reason people does not see it is because you fear. It can produce fear too. Suddenly an entity or the tree telling you you're a bad guy. or for example,
Go ahead.
and I remember clearly that the tree was against me, but when I pick up once again all the load of the herbs and the wood, yes, I broke some of the roots that, and by the way, these roots were softer because they were connected still to this river that was crossing over there. And then I said, "I'm so sorry." And I said, suddenly you discover that you sometimes you are not sensitive to the world around you, while the world around you is completely sensitive and talking to you. But sometimes we fear not arriving to the place we are devoted to. We fear rejection. We fear being heavily judged, being judged. We sometimes future is uncertain, and sometimes we fear the place we go, and we
We
block
fear
stuff.
the
But in reality,
unknown.
yeah, yeah.
We fear the unknown completely.
I'm
We're afraid of everything we in terms of like what we don't know or what we don't control or what we can feel that we perceive that we can control, then it's okay. But if it's out of our realm of comfort, we fear it. And I understand that connection that you're saying, because I have that with, for me, water is very, very, very strong. And like wherever I go in the world, I always greet the water. Water invites me into her. She tells me when it's okay to go in. She tells me when she doesn't want entry. Also, in terms of like the waves are too strong, they're pulling too hard. I'm not going in there. She does not want to be engaged at this moment. It's really a beautiful thing, because when I enter into water and I can sing to water and I can feel the water and everything else, she rejuvenates me. It's very, very healing for me. And there's a relationship. There's this beautiful exchange in Aini of that water and myself. And so I see that with your tree. I see that with so many different things. And not only are we in fear, but we're also numb. We forget we're numb. And like so many people, will be I'll be working with people in a session, and it's like to resensitize them to their own unconsciousness so that they can see the world through different eyes, because we get so busy with the external interruptions and external distractions. Even our own emotions become a distraction because we want instant gratification, and then we get angry because we didn't get that instant gratification because I want it and I want it now, and the impatience and all of these different factors and pieces play a role in distracting us from seeing the beauty in what we have that's right in front of our eyes, and we miss it. We walk down the street so engaged going like this, we miss everything that's passing by us, just all of those aspects, and they're so important. They're so, 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 so important.
I'm going to tell the audience one thing. It is going to impact you, I know. I didn't develop a good relationship with water specifically not because the actual water, but because somehow in my dreams, water was dirty water or clean water was always associated with different problematics, like defining flow and water in my dreams was always peculiar. For example,
Mm.
if I dream that a pipe is broken in my house, it's immediately a sense of, and water it was always like, oh my gosh, I dreamed water once again. Then I got the like I went even, let's say in a holiday, some people saying go to the pool. I was like, water is not my friend. I used to be like that, although I was even a professional swimming guy. I received the classes and stuff, but I had always like, and even less going to the sea, because one day I was about to, I entered into to the sea in the night, and the waves were very strong, and I got very scared because someone has to come. And guess what? Someone came to try to save me, and that someone also was taken by the waves and the sea. Then another man came and finally bring us both together. Then I was very scared, but I was always like that, right? A little bit,
So I have
but
to
it
ask
was
you this
actual
question.
fear.
I have to ask you this question. When the man came out to get you, did he chastise you or did he tell you, are you crazy? Why would you do that? Blah, 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 blah. Did he show an emotion? And the reason why I'm asking you this is because,
What I'm going to tell you, what I'm going to tell you is just the truth, because it's interesting, because I was swimming because my stepfather and another man were drinking in the beach. Then I was very boring because I was like, oh my gosh. They were happy, right? And I said, well, I will enter into the sea, but it was very strong. Then my stepfather, who was already drunk, he was began also to be taken by the other man who was also drunk came for both of us. Then when he brought us both of us, he just put us into the sand, and they both were like lying down like this. And I was like, oh my gosh, what a horrible experience. I'm not going to do this. My stepfather was a mean person, but I'm not going to extend into this. It was a bad experience, but there was no speech, there was no nothing. They were just a couple of
okay,
drunk, irresponsible people. But
okay,
still, still that man saved my life. And by the way, let me tell you, remember that in Cusco, we were in Isla Island of the Sun, we were told by this
yeah.
shaman to come back and greet. I did it. I found the man as this man that saved my life. Like, woo! He was like 70 years old or something, and I thank him for the episode of the sea. And curiously, he remembered, and he said, "Yes, what an embarrassing situation." And he was like, "Wow, you came to talk to me," and I was like, "Yes, yes, of course, you saved my life." Actually, actually saved my life. Well, beyond that, then anyways, I had this stuff. And now for the audience. One day where I was talking to Enolia in after our travelings, and she told me that she was making a despacho in New York, if I'm not mistaken, in the
Yeah.
sea. And she shared with me some of the images, and I was very touched. And I remember, Enolia, that things makes me started my ways of making a new relationship with water
Mm.
that you told me make me think I will change it now once again, because I have been playing my flute as a ceremonialist person in lakes, in rivers, in wells, in springs, in caves with water, but I had a little distance. I knew that I was dealing and having a dialogue with the element, with the consciousness of the place, but I was always still a little bit reluctant. Then, then after your despacho, I changed and I made different approach. And by the way, most of the most dramatic dreams with water changed. Now I'm going to tell you something that I consider so beautiful because I have seen it happening now. Now that I am a father and that my wife is 6 months in gestational times, we're going to deport the three of us in some days. I want my kid to listen. He's a boy. I want my kid to listen to the sound of the sea. I
Mm,
want baby who already lives in a waterly, beautiful, the pool of happiness, to hear the noise, to hear the sound of the waves.
yeah.
And to begin to also developing his own connection with the primordial water of life that is provided by mom. And this is the level of how much I have changed in relationship with water. The dreams change.
Which is wonderful.
Yeah, and this is a lesson because sometimes, for example, you didn't know this, but when I listened that you made a dispatch very beautifully, I said, I'm going to change my stuff. Then if we are awake, if we listen, maybe it's not your experience, but you can learn from the experience. And this experience of you with this despacho make despacho for the audience is the way in which the Quero brothers from Peru make their own offerings, their own healing procedures. They call it in Spanish despacho, despachar, to be given, giver. And when Enolia make this offering, this giving session, I said I will do a change because I have a relationship, but it's still affected by the sea stuff. And
Yes,
now I'm
yes.
going to
See, I would have never known that the times that we were in Lake Titicaca and at Temple of the Moon, Temple of the Sun, all of the different areas where we boated out and everything, for me, it was just like being on those sacred waters. It just meant the world, and all of the different ceremonies we did. Now, you're going to think that this is strange. How I developed my relationship with water was almost the way that you did, which was I was with a group of people at Jones Beach, and we were jumping over
Mhm.
waves, and I was probably 12 years old, and the waves were definitely over my head, but I was jumping so high because water has the buoyancy of the salt water. It was not a problem. And then I had to go back to shore, right? And I wasn't thinking my 12-year-old self, and I turned my back on the wave, and a wave broke early, and she carried me, and I was flipping over and over and over. And then I went to get up, and another one was over my head. And then I tried to get up again, and another one was over my head. And then I started talking to God. And I was like, is this it? Because one more time and I can't breathe. God, are you taking me? And then I started talking to the water. Water, are you taking me? I surrender because I can't get up. I can't breathe. And I'm about to take in a lungful of water. And when I went to reach up to take that lungful of water, she washed me ashore. And
Wow.
nobody saw that happen to me. No one saw that I had almost drowned. No one saw the water toss me. As a matter of fact, my friends who I were with, about 10 minutes later, while I was sitting there going, I almost drowned, they walked by and said, oh, did you finish already? Or are you going to hang out here? Okay, I'll see you in a little bit. And they just went on their merry way. They didn't know what happened to me. And what she did is that she gave me, of course, a healthy respect for her. And because I sat on that edge and nobody said, oh my God, you could have drowned. Oh my God, you could have this or that or the other. And no emotions were pressed on me. I just, I went back in. I went back in, but with a lot healthier respect and being aware and everything else. And I've always felt close to water ever since. It's just like she talks to me.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting that she could have taken me, but she didn't want me. But then now I listen to her rhythms and her waves and her conversation, and I know when not to get in. And there are times I will not get in the water because I'm like, nope, she's not at peace, she's not calm, she doesn't want anyone in there. And I'm watching other people go in there going, please, don't let anything happen to him because she doesn't want anyone in. I can feel it. I can tell. But when I am in there and she's calm and she's peaceful and everything else, it's a very different experience for me. So it's crazy how these experiences can happen to us and how we either embrace them or just say, ah, no, you know?
And how you're going to deal with this? With these couple of histories we already told, we can make a resume also of what is this. Everything is awake.
Yeah.
Everything a way of a consciousness. In my book, I even said everything is alive. Everything has a way of a consciousness. It does not really matter if it's not what we call human consciousness, because we humans has been very pretentious and arrogant to pretend to see that ours is the most sophisticated. For us Mayans, the human consciousness is kind of, we're the most destructive. We are the ones that can kill
Yeah.
the other. We are for pleasure, not for hunting for food. We can kill by entertainment, and we are the ones whose consciousness seems to be not that keen with nature. But still in Maya, we consider the human consciousness a way of a full system. We co-participate in the creation of the universe as such. And then as my trees, your waters, your rivers, or everything we are connected with, maybe they don't hold human consciousness, but still is a way of a consciousness. And ours is not the evolved to the arrogant place of we can do. No, just look at us. We have been destroying the earth. And it seems that we have no sense of balancing that. It seems that the world was too much for us. Then in the Mayan ways, it says like the human being belongs to a system, is not the owner of the system. And now we can say, even if it's not a human consciousness, that not human consciousness or that way of a consciousness can also hold a dialogue that you can tune in or tune with. And then you can, as I said, you can track the path of the luminescent star. For example, we also divide the colors of the moon. If the moon is yellow, for example, the pinky one, the red one, the ultra white, the gray, like more or less like gray moon, it's also giving us different ways. And it is not only like the way of observational ways. No, it can also be in your dream. You can hear a voice, you can sense, let's say, an spirit that is another consciousness, anyways. One of the lessons of the Mayan ways is that you should not consider your human consciousness as to be the epitome of creation. No, you belong to, and when you put your place in the place, in your correct place, you can begin to feel, to hear, and to differentiate what is that amount of perception that you. Why do you select only a limited ways of perception? Or why do you point out, or you are only focused in your social position or your social economical success? You can also be attached to it, but you can also track the stars. Why not? It depends on you. It's a way of a decision. But first of all, you have to position yourself as an element in the formula that creates the world in correlation. We all build the universe, but we fear the universe. But still, the stars, the sun, the moon, this sacred cholik that I mentioned, the sacred calendar of the moon, of the woman, is very, 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 it's a way of fascinating communication, dialogue, understanding, giving answers, because there's no worse thing that when you are ill during months and you have no clue, or when the doctor says the exams show nothing, and you are like, oh, but you are still on pain or unable to walk or whatever, and then you make another study, and once again the studies show nothing. Or you are in the middle of an episode of a depression and you are continuously saying, I don't know how to escape, I don't know what to do. Or whenever you, as now we can hear, like you are dating the same person in different bodies and you're saying, I don't know why I only date these kind of people. Whenever you have no answers, whenever you are so ignorant or whenever you are so confused, it's the moment in which you have to tell yourself once again, where is your position in life? Where do you put yourself? Where do you pretend you to be? Because the knowledge is surrounding you, it's all over you. And as my teacher said, The wind is going to whisper you. And I was like, come on, tell me now. But yes, it was very wise of herself to not to tell me the answers, because I wanted them, and by fighting them, I received them. Later on, the wind whispered the answers. Amazing,
Yes.
right? It's just to
Yes.
be too open, sensitive. We have to review our decisions to see. And by the way, the blind decisions, because some of the blind decisions are shaped by the conditions in pregnancy. That's why they seems
Mhm.
to be hidden, occult, or a little bit like unrecognizable. But still, the knowledge is there.
Yes.
Everything is here. In this
Yes.
moment, in this moment that we are talking, you can feel it and sense it. You need not to go to the high peaks of the keros to recognize chlorophyll. Oxygen is what is giving you.
Sometimes
I
you do.
I can tell you that that night that I tried to play the flute in the keros land, I feel what oxygen is. Because
Yeah.
I could play 5 minutes and I said, I'm beginning to faint by
Hmm.
the effort. They
Hmm.
are very accustomed to even
They're
have
accustomed to it.
bigger lungs. Yeah,
Yes.
but
I
when I
remember
was
walking
back,
20 feet and 20 feet going just 20 feet and then having to pace myself to go to the next house that we were going to because 20 feet at a time, rest 20 feet at a time, rest 20 feet at a time, rest, try to adjust. And then singing, yes, I remember singing and drumming because you always do drumming and singing and sometimes fluting all of this at once where I just sang and played the drum. But yes, I remember that. I remember that distinctly.
we were teaming because I was using my small drum and you were using the bigger one that you brought, and it was you always pick up my rhythms. But I remember
Yes.
that I said, oh my gosh, why do we need to be, as it is said, why do we need to function when you have you are against the wall and the sword? Why not to wake up now? Why not to, in this moment, begin? You need not to be pressured by the conditions or an illness or a continuous bad relationships or illness in the body or dramatic troubles or after a crash or I don't know, going to work and suddenly or perceiving the baby. I don't know. Why not to wake up just in this
Yes.
moment? The world is fully alive, but we fear the future. I think
Yeah.
it's also kind of a comprehensible that human beings being in a societies the way we live in these societies, it can be spooky difficult sometimes, but still you have to be brave. Life is only one
Yes.
opportunity in the
I
sense of
agree. I agree. And especially in our times now, I know that we're coming up on another hour. I can't believe it just went like that to me. I'm just like, oh my goodness, I love
one.
this. I can talk to you forever. But what would you share as maybe the last words of wisdom to those who are just waking up and are in fear? What would you say to them that are out there in the audience?
Tell you that that happens continuously with clients when precisely people is asking me, for example, let's make one example, a person that has bad partners continuously. And I said, we are going to review pregnancy. And once again, like, what? Yes. Because guess what? The mom obviously is the internal being, is the inner, the private space, is where you are created. And your relationship of what is intimacy goes with this rhythm of mom. And the baby can track the variations of the mom's behavior by the pumping. If it's accelerated, if she's sleeping, for example, the baby knows. And obviously, in the other way, the father, the companion, or the counterpart, it depends now, or the absence, is determining precisely what is the external ways. Then, in a sense, as to make a review, mom give us or shape us the sense of the inner self or the self-esteem. And the
Mhm.
way the baby perceives external world is later on the way we see the world, the social world, the school, the outside of my house or
Right.
whatever. That's why the house is important. The house is associated in some cultures with the father, but for us, the house, the household, and the private space is a feminine space. And the external ways is the father, and it comes from pregnancy. And it's, I think it's like, it's obvious that the father or the counterpart building the external world. The best the relationship the mother has with the father, the best we are going to deal with social dilemma. The dilemma, the way the external world can be sensitive of good for us is the best that we're going to go into that. And that can explain antisocial people, blah blah. You examine their creational ways, and the father was a mean father or what, blah 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 blah. I'm going to expose the
Right.
main, right? But the senses of what is the private self-esteem and the private is connected with mom, the creator, and the external world obviously is the counterpart of mom and the atmosphere she is creating you. Analyzing that is precisely to arrive to that. The less the presence of the father to be balanced, the more that you are feeding your path, your ways, your future, or waking up to develop something.
Right.
Analyzing the father figure, but not the creational one, not the educational one, or not the stepfather, not the no. The role of the counterpart of the or even the absence during pregnancy, the best that you can track what that fear is. If the father was violent, you are going to fear violence, obviously. You are going to be uncomfortable in that. But patterning is precisely based on that, and that's the way we might abstract the stuff. What was the relationship between the mother and the father, and the role they were giving during pregnancy? Then, therefore, and later on, you can determine what are you rejecting or what are you looking. Worst if any of your mom or your dad were narcissist, oof, oof, then my advice is not because I can do the consultations, you can do any way of a consultation, but if you want to skip me, analyze that. Analyze and try to sense, be sensitive to what was the original influence on your consciousness when you were created. You are going to get dozens of clues of your path, actual, now, present, conscious path. And by that, by getting clues, you're going to sense that there was nothing to fear. You can wake up, but now you know how it was. Now you
Right.
know the importance. I sometimes call it the Big Bang of your own creation, and that is
Right.
the sexual act. Because it's not the same if you are a loved boy or a expected baby to be born or to be rejected even. Those things also move the stuff. That
Mhm.
also a baby that is attempted to be aborted, just imagine the fear the baby. And if the baby survives and still grows up as a person, it's not going to be any surprise that the baby has anxiousness problems, stomachal problems in the processing of a substance that tried to kill him. And if the mother was the one that want to abort, that person is going to have problems with in the inner private self and with femininity. But if it was the father, that person is going to be mostly antisocial. Or
Mhm.
it depends on the graduation. Every case is an story. It's an story. All the gradients are different in every person, but this is my advice. Go back and study. The denied part of the woman's creation has denying the woman as a creator has been giving us a lot of problems in humankind.
Okay.
The now more relevant father figure, God as a male, has been making problems in the femininity because the woman is the one that created you. First of all,
Right.
independent of any hypothesis of what creation is, anyways, your mother is the creator, and that's the place you have to go.
Okay. Okay. So before we let you go, will you share your website and the fact that people can have sessions with you and have a Mayan reading, and the fact that you have a book before we let you go, so that people can connect and get materials from you?
Exactly. But to reach me directly to schedule time, offerings, services, consultations, and different ways in which we, not only pregnancy, I mean, as I said, also actual consultation for facts that can be in this moment happening, recurrent dreams, any way of a consultation. We hold a science can be reached by www.mayascience.com. All together, all without the Mayan, without the N, is Maya, because that's the way actually it has to be said, mayascience.com. Over there is immediately the presentation of myself, my credentials, because I also hold academical background, spiritual shamanistic ways. We don't call ourselves shamans, but still, for the way to understand the shamanism, dreams, interpretation, we call it translation, services, actual ceremonies, but sometimes even also classes and travelings to different places. And I also share information, academical articles, and what am I producing? I'm writing the third book now. There's a second book, is a poem, is the a poem collection of my teacher. I also had a masculine teacher, the poet, the linguistic teacher. There's a second book. You can find in my webpage the links to go through everything that is available for to share and my services. Enolia, thank you very much. You are the most beautiful woman
Thank
ever.
you.
And now that we have this podcast, I can remember how we were teaming all the time. It was so
I
good.
know. Yes, yes, yes. And it's so funny because I met you when you were single and now you're married, family on the way, everything. And you met me when I was looking my way. And I just went through my initiations last year as a grandmother elder. So now I am grandmother Enolia. And I'm so excited because here we are meeting again. And we've both have grown so tremendously. And my brother, I love you dearly. I'm so grateful for you to be here and to share your wisdom and to share your knowledge and just to share a part of yourself that is so 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 special. And I have such great respect for you. And you are missing the world if you do not read Apab'yan's book. So I'm going to tell you, please take time to read it from someone who knows, who comes from a generation of spiritual guides and knows their work inside and out. And I really do encourage you, if you always wanted to understand the perspective from the Mayan calendar and the Mayan way of reading you, or doing a reading, take the time to meet with Apab'yan. He does a phenomenal job with session and session readings and healing and then a little bit of everything. So my brother, thank you. It's an honor.
My sister, the honor is mine. And for everybody listening to this conversation, follow Enolia. She's so good. Follow the spirit.
So I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. Bye bye. Take care.